celebrating Whopper Wednesday every Wednesday. We also have the BK Big Fish and the vegan Impossible Whopper. Let's head into the Zoom room where we have the chairman of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, Juan Reyes Jr., standing by at 746. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina, Jason, and team.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we wanted to bring you on. We'll just get right into it. We had the CLTC administrator, Jack Hattig, on, was it like a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
And this is all kind of centering around this allegation that had been made by a land agent that Mr. Hattig had altered land report that
Coerced
and also altered. There was an allegation, I think, of forgery. And so anyway, we had Jack on, and it was, if you guys recall, the interview was it was funny to me because Jack was like, I don't know. So I'd asked him straight up, like, did you forge anything on the document? He goes, I would have to see the definition of forgery. And so it was just a little iffy to me. And then that's where I know that you had got involved with this allegation and did, was it an investigation that you conducted, Mr. Chair?
Well, so I mean, starting from the beginning, right? It was our February 18 meeting, and we were just beginning and moving into our constituent items on the agenda. And right out of the gates, the first case, we were going through it and reading through chronology, findings, and recommendations. Discussion started to happen, and we were asking questions, and the land agent was presenting. And that's kind of where, the disagreement had been brought up, right, in regards to the discussion between the director and the land agent. And the keywords that were used, right, was coerced, and she was forced to put these findings in. Mm-hmm. Now, the key thing too to remember on that, right, is that these are put forth before the board, presented to the board. And ultimately, the board is the ones that make the decision, right? And making sure that we do our due diligence and asking the questions, and making sure that even before we decide, we have the discussion and that it's legal, right? The key thing here is that making sure that across the board in all our leases and in our dealings with our constituents, right, that we do everything that's legal and within the guidelines, parameters of statutes, et cetera. And so at that moment, right, when the land agent had brought that up, right? I allowed her to continue to share, right, what was the issue at hand, and I immediately kind of just went into recess, right, because I needed to kind of take a step back and say, okay, looking through, right, the 10 items that we had in our agenda with constituent matters, there was a few that was on this switch and transfer. And so immediately I made the decision, right, to just table everything in regards to our constituent items on the agenda. Again, given the statement that was made by our land agent. And so, we continued our meeting. We did not make any decisions at that point. And so we went into, what are our next steps? And we ended the meeting with, with the commissioners, that I was committed to them to meet with our land agents, or actually the entire staff of the agency, right, to discuss the issue at hand, right, but also allow them if there was a need for them to share any other issues, comments, feedbacks, or concerns, right, and allowing them for that and having that open communication and transparency, things that I'm not a part of the day-to-day, and giving them that opportunity. And also the reassurance, right, that, given, the unfortunate circumstance with the agency, or with CLTC as a whole, has been plagued over the years with I don't know, call it drama, call it scandal, but it's this black cloud hanging over us. Mm. And so, it was always my intention to spend the time as a group, but I figured it's better to do a one-on-one at this point, right, to kind of get some information. And just get a better understanding of what is happening. Is it isolated? Is it not? Is it and just go through that process, right? And primarily focusing on the their feedback and getting some more insight to that. So it progressed through that, right? And then my commitment to my board of commissioners was, to come back with, a report. And I know it's a topic of controversy in regards to the report being released, but the one thing that we have to remember is that we're treating it as a personnel matter, an HR matter, and every step of the way in meeting with the employees, creating the report and sharing it with our commissioners. Legal counsel, right? The assistant attorney general has always been a part of that process, making sure that I'm and he agrees and supported, right, of my actions in going through this process. So that's where we're at. The key thing, right, is that we've addressed it with the director. What's paramount, right, is transparency, clarity, and openness and communication to ensure, right, that none of this happens again. In addition to that, right, it's my responsibility to really now immerse myself even more, right, with some of the day-to-day, which in essence, is not a role of the chair of the board. However, it is a responsibility of mine to make sure that, and my commitment to the trust and to protect and preserve the trust. And that's kind of what my next steps are.
Right. So just a couple things. Are you sure it's a HR matter? Because it kind of seems like there's legal issues involved with the altering of the documents. And I can understand that by classifying it as an HR and personnel matter, it then becomes something that you guys as a board don't have to share with the public because it's a personnel issue. And then the other thing, when you had talked about whether or not this was an isolated incident, I had heard from some of the land agents that this was kind of routine and that this altering of the land reports has happened and that they had felt that when you tabled the discussion after that first land agent had spoke, that they were denied the opportunity to kind of share that this has happened before. So I don't know, have you heard anything about that? Was that part of your investigation?
As part of my discussion with the land agents, yes, they were. I encouraged them to freely share with me. Now, as far as has it always happened in the past, I don't know, right? Because I've only been on now for the past 5 months. I'm on my 4th meeting. But what I do know is that this land report or the staff reports is fairly new in the sense of what was put together by the director, right, in how the format should be in regards to presenting it to the board. So that's to the extent that I know in that regard of now, has it happened prior to me? I mean, I don't know that, but what I do know is the what has happened, and kind of in the review of what was submitted versus what was presented to the board. Those are the things that the process that I took to get to a better understanding of what has had transpired.
How many staff were interviewed? How many land agents?
So it's not only our land agents, so all our land agents, and we also have a division, a shared resource for our surveyor group. So there's a total of 12 or 13 total, inclusive of our administrative team, right? So there's 2 in our agency that kind of does the second review, administrative side, audit side. So everyone. Yeah, I didn't just limit to our land agents.
So was this an isolated incident?
So I'd rather not discuss that piece right now because it is part of my report. But what I can say is that I'm taking the necessary steps to move forward in how these reports are generated, on how they're reported to us. I know that even prior to my meeting with the team, the director has also taken steps to, and putting some clarity. But again, it's my responsibility, and I've committed to make sure that anything that is presented that they're very clear and deliberate in, these recommendations or considerations, this be presented to the board. The board doesn't do, our land agents does the dirty work in go visiting our properties and doing the inspections, and providing these chronologies, and we rely on that heavily, so that we're informed, along with questions that we may have, and that's directed to our legal counsel to make sure that we're doing everything that's within the guidance of the law, statutes, etc.
So
Is it legal to transfer a lease application to another in exchange for their place on the waiting list? Is that legal?
The law, right? So the law in question here, I think, is the it's 5.8, which is the transfer of rights to another. An applicant may designate and I'll read it here, right? Designate qualified under the act to include husband and wife, children, widows, or widowers of the brothers and sisters or nieces and nephews to succeed to the applicant's application rights upon the death of the applicant.
You can only do it
right?
after they die. Yeah. Right. So you can
right.
only.
So they can designate. They can designate it, but it can only be transferred upon the death of the applicant.
And so, what was this land agent being coerced to do by Director Haddock?
Okay, so again, it's my understanding from the disagreement that they had was to even put this forth into the report, right? That's going to be presented to the board, because again, it's clear in the law, and as well as from the opinion from the Attorney General's office, plus what was, I believe, also a decision made from the previous commissioners board that these things are again should not be entertained again based on this law.
That's why it doesn't seem like it should be a personnel issue, as if we have the director, and I want to just get this quote from the governor in, because I think this quote from the governor, I don't know, to me it's a game changer. She says, quote, "I am very confident that Jack has not intentionally meant anything contrary to the laws or the regulations or the commission's instructions." So my takeaway from that is that she is admitting that Jack Hattig did do something contrary to the laws, the regulations, which is you can't switch a lease between living people, but that she believes that he didn't intentionally mean it.
Well, okay, so I work for the governor personally, right? She was my direct boss at one point in time. The governor is very compassionate in when it comes to employees. However, right, from my perspective as the chair, right, and as our commission, right, and it's not a team of one, is to make sure that all things being equal, is to ensure that anything that comes through our decision-making authority, we are doing it within the legal parameters. Secondly to that, right, Sabrina, back to your question, with the issue at hand, and Chris, right, is it really a truly impersonal issue? What we're trying to make sure and determine here, right, is that the transparency, the openness of the communication within our employees and staff, as well as with the director, we keep that line of communication open, because they're our front line that makes everything happen in the commission, right? And our duty and responsibility to the trust to protect and preserve it, and I'll continue to iterate that, is because again, unfortunately, so many years, right? And the black cloud continues.
Yeah,
so,
but John, I mean, man, I'm sorry, Prim, but it continues because of things like this that are happening right now, today. But you guys are shielding the whole process by saying, "Oh, it's a personnel issue," when you have a sitting director who's coercing land agents to basically break the law, and now we can't even get the report. The governor's backing the director. It kind of sounds like you're backing the governor or backing the director, and that's why there's a black cloud over this. And we just snatched the Chamorro Land Trust from the jaws of death. Right? And so we're right back to doing these. And I mean, it is what it is. What I hear is that, the director is coercing people to do favors for political reasons.
And to that point, right? my goal and with my commissioners, right, is to put a stake in the ground and move forward. And, by no means is this being taken lightly, right? And, it's my commitment to not only the land agents and the agency, but as well as my commissioners, right? Because it's our decision when these come to us, and and making sure that we do our due diligence and for lack of better words, tear it apart to make sure that we have all the information that we need to make a decision, right? So, again, I stand in support of our agency. I stand in support of our commissioners to make sure that we do the right thing and we follow the laws that really, right, that really put a confine into the agency. We can't do anything because we are really, it's strictly on these laws, and it's my responsibility and my commitment to make sure that we act on that way.
So,
What options are you looking at in terms of actions that you plan on taking?
and if it's a personnel action, would there be any disciplinary
Well,
consequences?
at this time, right? Sans anything that I could discuss in regards to some of the on the matter of the personnel matters. What I'm taking as a step in the right direction is anything that comes through the commissioners, right? Making sure that whatever the land agents are putting out there for us to make a decision, anyone who's had a hand in additional recommendations or considerations, either the senior land agent or administrative team or even the director, it is clear and deliberate on whose recommendations these are, so that the commission is well informed in making these leases or whatever comes before us, right? And it's within the legal parameters, and that is legal, abiding by the law.
Are you planning to ever release your investigation results?
Again, at this juncture, as we progress, and there are some impending inquiries, I'm working closely with the assistant general attorney, right, that's been assigned to us, our legal counsel, to make sure that we address as it comes.
I'm not even sure what you said. So,
What did that mean?
no, I just wanted to go back to what options are you looking at in terms of what action will you be taking any action against Mr. Hattig, or you're just going to be like, okay, so this is what we found, and just
Well,
Because I mean, it
make
kind of
some
sounds
make some changes.
like we're just trying to move on from
understood.
this.
And I know you want a definitive answer, but at this juncture, right, I don't want to address that piece right now. But what I've said is, going forward, here's how we will make sure and ensure that we are dealing with these constituent matters that come before the commission, as well as all matters, right? Not just these particular constituent ones, because there are other commercial matters, agricultural matters that come through. So yeah, and that's kind of again what I've committed and moving moving forward. Now, to answer your question, to address that, I don't want to, I respectfully ask to not address that at this moment until, again, anything that, if anything further that transpires, I'm continuing to work with our legal counsel on that.
How serious is this? I mean, because you won't say if this was an isolated incident. You won't give us the findings of this report.
Well,
How serious is this?
I mean, anything and everything that comes through this matter, any other matter, right? We have to take it seriously, right? And I've taken the necessary steps to make sure that we've, we're going to address it. And yeah, I mean, everything that comes through, it's definitely taken seriously.
Yeah,
100%.
well, I'm just asking because there's an allegation that laws were broken.
Yeah.
Or a law was broken. We heard forgery,
Yeah. And we have the governor who has come out on the record across multimedia platforms saying that basically Jack Hattig broke the law, but it's okay, Munga, never mind, because it was not intentionally meant.
Well,
and then we have you saying, oh, it's all a personnel issue, and you're not going to release anything to the public.
we've always taken the stance, and again, working every step of the process with this, and making sure that, I was supported and, went through legal counsel to be able to do take the necessary steps in the processes that I'm taking. So, again, I to address, and answer your question outright. I mean, at this point, I'm not, I don't want to be able to address that, again, because of how we're handling this as a HR personal matter.
And you're not able to confirm if it was an isolated incident?
Again, as part of the process in going through what was presented versus what was submitted, right? I taken the necessary action to make sure that anything that gets presented to us is going to be, all within the confines of the law, that we ensure that, that's how it's managed going forward.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to let you know, as your prim, that the land agents they're not confident in this process, and now they're reaching out to different senators to put eyes on this whole thing. And I can't say I don't blame them, because it just really seems like it's just kind of suspect, the labeling of it as a personnel issue, when it's clear there are allegations that the attempts to break the law were made. And even the governor has said that laws were broken, but it wasn't intentional.
Well, and just to kind of add to that, right? I've also expressed to our land agents, as you brought up, they're going outward as well. But I've also expressed to them that, they should feel comfortable and always open opportunity to address their issues and concerns with me as well. And that was also expressed in our conversations one-on-one. So, I'm hoping that if there is still anything that they need to address, that they can come to me, and we can address it as well, or take the necessary steps to address it.
If nothing was found that he did anything wrong, would you guys make a public announcement and say he's cleared of everything, all these allegations?
Well, I mean, I think I don't necessarily think that, we should, how should I mean, no, I think we are going to, at the end of the day, make sure, right, that if there's anything that needs to be addressed, that it will be addressed in the proper manner. So,
what is the proper manner?
It depends on if there's anything, again, if there's anything additional that needs to be addressed, it'll be addressed in the proper manner. I'm not sure if, where you're getting at with that question, though, Sabrina, but again,
I'm just saying that if nothing wrong was found, wouldn't you guys come out and say he's cleared of all of these allegations? I mean, there was a press conference that GDD had, and they announced all of the officers that were accused in this shooting. They're all cleared.
Right.
No action is necessary.
That's a little.
But by saying that, you guys got to do all this review, the AG, whatever, we got to go through this process. We're going to see changes. So it sounds like you found something.
Yeah. But you're not telling the public, and you're saying it's a personnel issue. And meanwhile, you got land agents who are coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, Jack Hattick does this all the time. We're not getting any action from our board, our chair. We can't go to our director. So now we got to go call the media. We got to go call the senators. So the confidence, I feel like the public trust, especially after this program was right on the firing line. Right? Because I did all these stories, Prim, on the Barragata Heights, the switches, the leases. So I just kind of take it personal, and to see that we're right back to where we started, and with this veil over everything, it's just the public can't trust the process, because they feel like and the land agents also feel like the director is not being held accountable.
Rest assured that, I'm taking the necessary steps on what needs to get done, right? And at the end of the day, yes, it's a struggle. It's a struggle because of, to your point, all the issues that has amounted over the years. Don't get me wrong. That is, I fully acknowledge that, and my goal and my commitment is just to ensure that none of that happens again. That yes, we're in the spotlight again because of what was inspired in our meeting. But I want to make sure that I give my commitment, and it's my responsibility, right, to take that and move forward and address it. So again, without going further with that, I mean, that's kind of my goal
But
and my commitment.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask point blank, are you covering this up?
There's nothing. I know, because I know I'm doing what I need to do. I'm putting forward a process. I'm committed to making sure that none of this happens again. And there's nothing to cover up.
Okay. Anything in closing maybe you want to say to the lessees out there who, maybe see this and they think, oh, it's one of these, you got to know somebody to make a recommendation to jump in the line, and it's just not being enforced.
So again, I'm 5 months into this, right? And meeting 3 on December, January. Yeah, meeting 3, right? This has come up. This aside, right? There's so much that needs to get done. There's so much cleaning up that needs to do. In regards to some of the things that were lingering, right, in the past for these switch and transfers. There's still over 4,000 lessees, right, from the 1995, when it first began, when the lists had started, that still need to be addressed, right? And so, we're trying to work through those plans on how do we address them. There's having to make sure from the eligibility standpoint with the new the law and qualifications of eligibility, making sure that the team is ready. And so yes, there, again, putting with this aside, there's a lot of work for the commissioners. There's a lot of work from the that our land agents will be that have ahead of them, right, and the tasks at hand. It's a little bit daunting, right? But I think but it's not that it can't be done, even as daunting as it seems. I just got a copy or reviewing in detail our audit report, right? So in general, the audit report is clean. So that's another thing that's focused on. Anytime I've received an audit report in my past career, that's our marching orders in what needs to get done, right? If there's any deficiencies, but it's clean per se, right? Unmodified, quote unquote clean, but there are deficiencies. There's deficiencies in material weakness in report of internal controls and compliance. Compliance is a big thing. That is a leg within the agency that needs to get stood up. It's not only compliance, for the constituents in regards to land development or usage of the land, but there's also compliance in making sure that anything that has been is dealt with the board, right? That when it comes to audit, if it's picked an audit, that they can speak to it on those decisions. So there's a lot of work to do, and I'm committed to make sure that all of this gets done, as daunting as it seems, and as my responsibility to our constituents, but also the people of Guam that potentially are still could apply and are qualified.
Well, we're getting the BJ public auditor on in a little bit, so we'll definitely ask him about the audit. Thanks,
Yep.
John. I don't think
Thank
there's
you.
anything else we can say about this, but
Well,
keep us posted.
thank you guys for the time, and have a great Easter holiday.
You too.
You too.
Okay, I'll stay.
Take care.
Right on. It's 8:16.
I wonder if there's going to be an oversight.
There has to be an oversight. Has to. No doubt.
That was interesting.
I don't even know what to say. I just don't know what to say. But I just will say that John is my second cousin, just so you guys know. But I mean, my jaw's on the floor right now. because we're talking about transparency. And you know what's interesting in this quote that the governor had? I mean, the governor is saying that Jack Hattig broke the law. But he didn't mean, not what was it again? It was confusing, actually. Let me just read it again, guys. I am very confident that Jack has not intentionally meant anything contrary to the laws or the regulations or the commission's instructions. I mean, can you imagine pleading that in a court of law? I plead I did not intentionally mean to do it, right? And so, yeah, she's basically saying my guy broke the law. And I just think at this point, it's clear that what needs to be done, the type of investigation, not report, the type of investigation that needs to be done on this, it's clear that the board is compromised, or they're not taking as strong an interest in it as maybe the public would like. And so that's why we have the whole oversight process.
Yeah, I'm surprised he couldn't say like.
I don't. He couldn't really say anything.
Yeah, whether it was an isolated incident or whether in fact he broke the law.
But I'm telling you guys, the land agents are coming out and they feel like they're not being heard, and they're calling the senators, and it is what it is, you know. And all I'm saying is that we just freaking got through this whole scandal at Barragata Heights. We just dodged the most major bullet with the federal government trying to snatch this whole program away. And that's why anytime there's anything remotely suspect, we have to lay it out. We have to turn on the lights. It has to be investigated, examined, publicly, openly, with transparency. Or else what's the point? We might as well just go give the land trust back to the federal. Yeah, I mean, really. And we had Jack Hattig on, and you guys saw the interview. It was uncomfortable. It was almost as uncomfortable as this interview we just had, where Jack admitted that he altered documents. And I said, did you forge anything? And he said, I don't know what's the meaning of
Chris,
forgery.
we need to log off.
Okay. Anyway, thank you, KUM TV. It's we're KUM FM. I got Guam on the breeze. To our viewers on KUM TV, my name's Chris.
I'm Sabrina.
Estadios.
Bye.
Yeah, anyway, so that's all. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of traction coming out of this. But the way I look at it, what I was thinking about this last night is like, it really seems like somebody, whether it's the chair or the other commissioners or even the governor, through influence, right? Because it does kind of seem like she does have some influence on that commission board. It's like the lid is about to come off and the thing is boiling. This thing is boiling over and you can't keep the lid on it anymore. It's 8:20. We're going to take a quick break and we're coming back with an update on the ERA program, Bree. Emergency rental
Assistance
Thank
program?
you. Right. With Bernie Guinness, the deputy at Department of Administration, coming up.